London in late summer 1666 was a cramped, timber-built Golden Age city still reeling from the Great Plague of 1665 and a drought that had left wooden beams tinder dry. Narrow lanes brimmed with hawkers and crowded markets. Jettied houses leaned over alleys, and property rights and parish rules made large-scale demolition slow or legally fraught. On the morning of September 2nd, 1666, a fire started at Thomas Farriner's bakery on Pudding Lane, and within hours flames were licking toward the Thames. Eyewitnesses like Samuel Pepys and John Evelyn recorded panic, choking smoke, and shouts for fire breaks, putting the city on a collision course with catastrophe. On the morning of September 2nd, 1666, the bakery oven at Thomas Farriner's premises on Pudding Lane caught fire, first noticed by a baker's apprentice. Neighbors rushed with leather buckets, parish watchmen shouted alarms, and a bucket brigade formed along the narrow lane. Men tried to smother the blaze with sacks and water, confident a local quench would be enough, while others used fire hooks and ladders. Maybe clicking subscribe would have saved them. News reached the Lord Mayor, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, who hesitated to order houses pulled down. Without decisive orders, no systematic demolition to create fire breaks was carried out. The cramped, timbered houses and an easterly wind turned embers into airborne sparks that leapt along jettied eaves and into cellars. Samuel Pepys later wrote of smoke and cries as the mood slid from irritation to panic and the fire leapt from roof to roof, setting the city on an inexorable path outward. Strong easterly gales fanned embers into a blaze that raced from Pudding Lane through narrow streets, devouring rows of timber houses, warehouses along the wharves, and parish churches until St. Paul's Cathedral stood as a blackened silhouette. Merchants heaved chests and bales into barges on the Thames. Families fled with papers, crowding into Moorfields and the Commons as smoke turned day into dusk. On September 4th, King Charles II and his brother James, Duke of York, rode into the city, imposed order, and ordered soldiers to form demolition lines. When hand-pulling failed, gunpowder was used to blow up houses and create fire breaks. Fire hooks and ladders probed every eave. Legal claims and frantic owners resisted the demolitions, stalling crews and sparking violent disputes over salvage. That tug of war between emergency command and property rights slowed containment and pushed the blaze outward, setting the stage for ruin and eventual rebuilding. By the night of September 4th, 1666, the medieval nave of Old St. Paul's had become a skeletal, smoldering maw as brazen tongues ate through the choir and dome. The Royal Exchange and the warehouses along the Thames stood as blackened hulks. Streets turned into rivers of heat where iron-bound carts buckled and cobbles glowed. Roofs collapsed in showers of embers and chimneys toppled like poles. Merchants hauled bales, deeds, and plate to the river, loading barges in a desperate salvage while women clutched registers and children under smoke-darkened cloaks. Tens of thousands gathered on Moorfields and the Commons outside the city, refugees blanketed in soot and fear. With houses tumbling and lanes choked, demolition by hand and by gunpowder, ordered by Charles II and carried out by soldiers, became the city's only strategy, a brutal all-or-nothing race to carve fire breaks before the remaining fabric collapsed. As dawn broke on September 5th, 1666, disciplined demolition lines, soldiers, carpenters, parish crews, and laborers, finally closed gaps around the main fronts. Where hand-pulling failed, gunpowder ripped out rows of houses. Fire hooks and ladders finished the cuts. The easterly gale that had driven embers slackened, and a timely rain began, turning leaping flames into hissing embers and stopping airborne sparks. By noon, the great roar had dwindled to smoldering pockets. The city lay in blackened ruin, charred beams, gutted churches, and the skeletal old St. Paul's. With the fire contained, attention snapped to recovery, rebuilding, and responsibility. When the Great Fire swept through London, charred commerce and gutted parish records left tens of thousands homeless and wrecked trade, while blame focused on negligence and weak governance. Parliament's rebuilding acts replaced jettied timber with brick and stone, widened streets, and encouraged organized firefighting and early insurance schemes. Sir Christopher Wren rebuilt St. Paul's and many parish churches. The blaze reshaped urban planning, municipal power, and civic memory, captured in Pepys's diary and the monument, forcing London to reinvent itself.